Good day to all you hockey fans out there. It is March 1st, and you are listening to the one, the only Talking Puck podcast. I am Sean Coles, joined as always by my co-host Ryan Lake.
Hello, hello.
And it is, or was, I should say, trade deadline day. It's an exciting day, and that's what we're going to concentrate on in this episode.
The deadline, or that it was exciting?
The deadline, because it was not the most exciting.
Yeah,
Probably the most exciting news was that TSN is getting Jay and Dan back.
Yeah, and the only other exciting news actually was the annual Brian Burke interview.
Oh my God, he does not give a good interview, does he?
It's one word answers, and he just looks like he wants to kill everybody.
I don't understand his infatuation with having the tie just hanging around him.
It's at that point, just have like a nice button-up shirt and don't wear a tie.
Well, I saw a tweet today that was like, everyone needs to chip in to buy him a scarf. Because that's what he should be wearing. It's like, Brian, tie the damn tie or don't wear it.
The best part about it, too, is it's not like it was the end of a long day. It was like 11 a.m. and his tie was undone. I can see like 9 or 10 o'clock.
He's not even the GM. No. So what the hell is he doing?
It's just crazy old Brian Burke.
Oh, man. He is a kind of a kooky guy still. He was even worse when he was in Toronto. But, so yeah, as I said, we're going to concentrate just strictly on the deadline. And any moves that have been made, because it's an exciting time of the year. Trades going on, teams gearing up for the playoffs or for a run at the playoffs. Other teams are completely selling, trying to get as many picks as they can so they can load up and rebuild. And what added a little more intrigue this year as well is that we've got the expansion draft coming up in the summer, right?
And now too, Vegas is officially open for business.
That they are. I don't think they made any moves today.
They did not yet, but they now can pick up like
NCAA.
college,
and they can start scouting those. Well, they will have been scouting those guys.
They can start to sign guys to contracts, and
it'll be interesting to see if they start making some moves.
Just no active players. Any players that are hurt or currently active, they cannot touch those players.
Even ones that are on long-term injury.
From what they were saying on TSN today, anyone who's still under a contract that is active or injured, they're not touchable.
Well, it kind of makes sense, because why would you be traded to a team that doesn't
you don't play
yet
for the rest of the year,
Exactly. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by talking about the sellers a bit. Now, the main sellers that everyone knew of going into this time of the year were Colorado and Phoenix, because only those two teams in the West are truly out of it. Like in the East, everyone still kind of has a chance, right?
There was talks being kind of middle of this, like the first half of the season, about Detroit somewhat being a seller just because of where they are compared to the last 25 years.
Well, exactly. But Colorado kind of disappointed.
Yes and no. Like I was really hoping that they were going to get rid of Grigorenko. I was hoping maybe that they would find someone to take Teuton.
I don't think anyone's taken either of them.
Oh, right, but you never know, right? And then I was also hoping that maybe someone would take John Mitchell, because he's a decent center. He's a good face-offs.
That's a good point, because he's kind of one of those bottom six gritty guys that teams really love going into the playoffs.
He's not offensively gifted, but he's definitely good defensive face-offs. Yeah. I had a feeling going into it that they weren't going to take no one was going to take Duchesne or Landeskog. And I think that's
too much.
Not only that, but it's also probably smarter for them to move them come draft or in the summer.
They'll probably get a lot come the expansion draft,
right?
Entry draft.
So I have a feeling it's that you're going to get more in return then compared to teams getting rid of everything now when there's still a little bit time left in the season. So other than that, though, I was kind of hoping that maybe Grigorenko, a few other guys
they picked up Andrighetti.
Yeah, and to be honest, I liked Martinson. He's, like I said to you, he's one of the only 8 ever Norwegian players in the NHL. But Barberio came from Montreal, and he's got like a rejuvenation in Colorado. He's playing well, so maybe he can too. And for some reason,
I don't really know Andrighetti. I don't know if he's maybe a little more skilled.
I don't really know him too much either, but he's, from what I've seen, he's like kind of like a smaller, skilled guy.
Oh, okay.
So maybe he'll
Colorado
fit in with this.
Can use that.
Because maybe with the younger, faster guys, he'll fit in more than kind of a Julien, kind of big and tough, kind of.
Yeah. Montreal went in an odd direction, but we'll get to them in a little bit. Now, obviously, Phoenix, they kind of had their big trade a couple of days ago with getting rid of Martin Hansel, but
and Stone too, right?
Yeah, and Stone. That's right. Yeah, because they traded Stone. I think that was maybe Friday or Saturday.
It was a few days ago as well.
And they're obviously sellers. They are bottom dwellers in this league, and I kind of thought that Shane Doan might get moved, but they were pretty quiet.
Yeah, and I was really surprised too that apparently there was not a single call for Radim Vrbata either.
That is interesting. I wonder if it's because of Vanek getting picked up and the cost being so high for that it turned everyone off of Vrbata.
It could
or
be.
He's just having as terrible a season.
But Verbata's having actually a decent season. He's having a completely rejuvenated season compared to compared to what he had last year in Vancouver.
Jeez, I haven't looked. I don't really keep track of Phoenix that much.
Does anybody?
Yeah, that's true.
The only story that's from Phoenix is that Austin Matthews is from that area.
You know what? They've got some really good young pieces, so I'm hoping that we can see a rejuvenation from that team. And John Chayka seems to be doing a pretty decent job building up those picks. Like you see the haul that he got for Hansel.
Oh, for sure. But
it's just unreal.
You think at this point, with them being where they are in the Western Conference, that you would call up Anthony Duclair and you would
He's having a bad season. They sent him down.
I know they sent him down, but I mean, you got to give him his confidence back, right? It's not like you're making splashes.
Well, he might be gaining his confidence by being down in the minors and kind of building that up, right?
But they also did say that he was available too.
Yeah, that is true. I'm surprised that they want to get rid of him because he was so fantastic with the Rangers.
Yeah,
but maybe that was because he was playing around a better team that was helping bring him through. Who knows? But someone should have taken a flyer on him, but evidently no one did. We'll wait till the summer though. You never know. But we'll move it along to another one of the sellers that I thought was a little surprising personally, and I am so happy that they are sellers. It's the Vancouver Canucks. Finally!
Because we were expecting them to be buyers.
Oh my God. I thought they would have been. I really thought that Jim Benning was just going to go off the deep end, trade all their picks for like Shane Doan.
Apparently he took the Sedins into his office today and told them that they're going into a full-fledged rebuild.
Duh!
But, I mean...
Even the Sedins must have been able to realize that's where the team was going, like last summer.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it is by far overdue that they are going into a bit of a rebuild, but I am so happy that they are because maybe it'll get them turned around.
Did you see Jannik Hansen refused to waive his trade clause to go to Montreal?
I did not see that, but that's very interesting.
That is interesting because where did he end up going? He went to
San Jose.
Montreal is not a bad team to have a chance at going to making it far in the Eastern Conference.
You've got a better chance with San Jose,
right? But this was before San Jose was making any offers. This was before the deadline.
I don't know how good of a chance Montreal really has. Like
Montreal's got a better chance than Vancouver, and at that time he didn't know that any other teams were going to offer for him, right?
Well, I don't know. His agent might have had because obviously his agent would have been calling around,
right?
For sure.
So
he might have had some inclination that another team like San Jose might be making a pitch for him, right? So like these are things that we don't know, but sometimes the player has more.
There's a lot of behind the scenes, yeah.
For every player that says that, I was totally shocked by this, the ones with a good agent kind of know.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, and they sold Alex Burrows the other day as well. They sold him off for a pretty good return actually, because the guy they picked up, Jonathan Dahlin, was just named like the top player in the Swedish like second tier hockey league, and he's pretty young. I think he's 19.
Yeah, I think he's 18 or 19.
Yeah,
and maybe Vancouver will find some pieces to complement Bo Horvat in the next few years. And
because they got Brock Bozer coming up as well, and their goalie's supposed to be pretty good. That's coming up.
They're saying that this is like the first time since like 2009 or 10 that there's a good chance that the leading scorer for the Vancouver Canucks is not named a Sedin.
Yeah. I will be interested though to see, because what I should say is that I'm surprised that Ryan Miller did not get moved.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I'm not surprised that he got moved opposed to Marc-Andre Fleury getting moved, because I feel like Fleury is a better goalie than Ryan Miller is.
Totally.
And I know that Fleury wanted to stay, but I feel like if anyone was going to go for a goalie, they'd try and get Fleury before they would have got Miller.
Well, Fleury's still got time left, though, doesn't he?
I think he still has one more year.
So you can still move him at the expansion draft.
Right. But he also, he doesn't want to waive his clause, he said.
He's got a great chance to win another cup.
Oh, for sure. Even if he rides the pine.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it was interesting to see that Ryan Miller wasn't moved to someone. Like, obviously, LA was off the table once they picked up Ben Bishop, which
right.
couldn't believe.
Yeah,
but
especially after
you never know. Maybe St. Louis might have taken a chance on him and had a better backup than the one they currently have.
Or even like Calgary or someone who's kind of had some...
Oh, man. I feel so badly for Calgary because they thought they had hit it. Like, they thought they'd gotten a home run when they got Brian Elliott, and he has not been good.
He's been a lot better lately, and on Trade Center today... O'Neill and those guys and Duthie were talking about how with the pieces that Calgary has got and the way that they've been playing, that if they make it into the playoffs, they're one of the teams that you might not want to play first round.
That's true. They do have a bit of grit to them. Obviously, with Matthew Tkachuk, that dude's annoying.
Oh yeah, and it was fun to watch him in London.
Yeah, that is true. But you know what? We're going to move along to a couple of Eastern teams that were sellers. I know there's a lot of sellers this year, and I was. More of that I was surprised about, because going into the trade deadline, people were saying, "Oh, there's not a lot of sellers," because everyone in the East is in it. Well, Tampa Bay shocked people when they started selling. Yep, because
they weren't far out of it.
No, they're not. They're not that far out of it. But I think they kind of figured, no, we're done. We're done for the year, and we got to start shedding some contracts here. So obviously they kicked things off, trading Ben Bishop over to LA. They got Peter Budaj. Yeah, and they got like a fifth or something.
Yeah, back. And then they got a player as well.
Yeah, Chernak.
Yeah,
they got Chernak back, and not a huge haul, but obviously for a goalie that's on an expiring contract that hasn't played that great this season, not bad.
Who had a decent cap hit too.
That's true. Yeah, and he did have a pretty good cap hit. So what I think will be kind of amusing about that is that you've got two goalies, both a little inconsistent in the health department. What happens if both go down and you don't have Peter Budaj?
Yeah, then you're going to have to... Who's their third string? Zakov, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And he's hurt, too. He was hurt half the year this year.
But at the same time, you got one of them having a bad night. You've got a solid goalie that you can throw back in. So they're going to get pretty darn good goaltending for the rest of the season. No doubt about that. Unless Jonathan Quick is... not like 2012 Jonathan Quick.
Yeah, who knows after his groin injury. He's only played...
He was pretty good the other night, though.
Yeah, then they lost the next game, I believe. Did they not?
I don't know.
I don't really follow LA too much.
I didn't really keep track of them this week. It's been a busy week. But, and then, obviously, the next move for Tampa Bay was selling off Brian Boyle.
Yeah.
Which, really surprising. I'm ecstatic that he's come to Toronto. And... Tampa didn't get a huge amount in return. They got a second, which is good, but it's not going to be a really high second. It's going to be kind of mid-table to 20 to 30, depending on how the Leafs finish in the season.
Yeah, and I feel like Boyle brings a lot of grit that Toronto didn't really necessarily have.
They needed a fourth-line center. Bad.
Not just a fourth-line center, but he's kind of like your checking line kind of...
Yeah, he can move up to third line as well, yeah.
And he's going to be really good on the penalty kill.
Yep.
And
he's going to have a lot of leadership.
Even on the power play, you can just park his ass in front of the net, right?
He's huge.
He's a big guy.
He is a very big guy.
And he's been to the Stanley Cup Finals twice. So if the Leafs do make it to the playoffs, he's going to have that invaluable experience that every locker room needs, right?
He's going to offer that extra bit of leadership that I think the Leafs locker room just doesn't have right now.
Right. Because they are so young that none of these guys really... maybe they're leaders of their junior teams, but this is a whole other ballgame, right?
It's true. And, when you got guys like JVR, Bozak, Kadri, they've never really won in the NHL. And so, they may be kind of leaders in the dressing room, but they don't quite have
They don't have that second level kind of...
and they haven't really had the opportunity to hit it.
Right.
Either, right? So
thanks to Boston.
Yeah. Bastards. And then the last move that Tampa Bay made, which was today, the last big one at least, was trading Valtteri Filppula.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, at first they acquired Mark Streit.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, why the hell is Mark Streit going to Tampa Bay? Tampa Bay was selling.
Expiring contract. That's why.
Right. But then moments later, they flipped him to Pittsburgh for a 4th-round pick.
I don't know why Pittsburgh really wanted him.
I feel like Pittsburgh is trying to just get some help to inevitably face off against Washington.
Yeah, but Mark Streit, I don't think he's had that good a season.
No, but
he's 39.
But he instantly upgrades your bottom 2 defense.
I suppose. Yeah, the only issue I see with him is that at 39, is he going to be quick enough for them? Because they play a really fast game. Now, I suppose that not a whole ton of their speed comes out of their back end. Their back end is that first pass.
And if you actually watch
from their forwards.
Yeah, but if you watch their back end, so guys like Letang and Daly, they bring the puck in a lot because they are faster. But the slower defensemen, they make the quick outlet pass that's like that, and then the forwards are just gone. When you got guys like, Crosby, or when you got guys like Kessel who can fly down the ice, those passes
just
are...
give them the puck and go. And what was brilliant about that trade, though, is that it gets Valtteri Filppula off the books.
Yeah.
And they haven't kept Mark Streit.
Yeah.
So Steve Yzerman, once again, showing that I think he's the next Lou Lamoriello.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Unreal, because they just dropped $5 million off the cap to be able to re-sign. I think guys like Tyler Johnson are up
and
this year.
someone else is up this year as well that they're going to need to pay.
Andre Palat, probably.
Yeah, I think it's Palat. And not to mention, one thing that I found was really weird, and as we were talking earlier, I'm not sure as to why, but Filppula rejected going to Toronto.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. That was very odd. Very odd. And from my perspective, at least, because they're a better team, I think, than Philly. And they have way more upside than Philadelphia does. But you know what? He may have just had his reasons, whether he didn't want to be in Canada and put up with the weather, and coming from Florida.
Well, I mean, Philly's not really that much better than Toronto, weather-wise.
No, that's true. But I don't know. He may just have wanted to stay in the States.
Maybe going from Tampa, where he pays like no taxes, to somewhere where he's going to be forfeiting 40% of his salary.
Yeah,
or more.
I can't really blame him on that score, that's for sure. But at the same time, I'm not totally sad. Like, I'm a little disappointed.
Maybe he just doesn't really want to be part of a rebuild, too. Maybe he wants to kind of, as much as Philly's not a better option.
Yeah. Philly's kind of a middling team, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They probably should have rebuilt, but they haven't.
But they've got a lot of good young guys, like Provorov.
Those two, like him and Provorov and Gostisbehere, are going to be an insane 1-2.
Oh yeah,
for them come just in the next few years. But you know what? I'm a little disappointed that Filppula didn't come to Toronto, because
Filppula's a good player.
He is. Honestly, I really like him. I haven't watched him the last couple of years in the playoffs. I think he would have been a definite upgrade over Tyler Bozak, who would have had to have been going back in the other direction, because less of a cap hit at that point, right? Because he does make, I think, almost $1 million less than Filppula does.
I think it's pretty funny though that Bozak, he stayed on Toronto this year, but I think it's been like 8 years in a row where he's been on the trade block come deadline.
Oh, I know. I feel a little badly for him.
Yeah,
he's always getting talked about being traded.
I feel like at this point he's probably like, meh.
And you know what? That was kind of his reaction, because he was asked about it this year, and he's like, kind of just gotten used to it.
Yeah, well, literally, like every year,
it
was Bozak's on the trading block. Bozak's on the trading block.
And maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. And it all depends on who wants to take him and whether or not the deal is right. And obviously, either no one has ever wanted him, which I kind of can't believe, or just the deal has never been right.
Yeah.
And clearly the deal would have been right this time, except Filppula nixed it. Which,
yeah.
You know what? That's just right. That's what he had built into his contract, so you can't really fault him.
That's what him and the organization agreed upon.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, because Tampa acquired him from someone else, and I don't remember who they acquired him. No, it wasn't Pittsburgh. I would have to look it up.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he came from. I just always remember him playing for Tampa.
Yeah, no, Tampa traded for him. And for the life of me, I don't remember who.
That's gonna bug me now.
I know. That's why I'm gonna look it up. But it's gonna be interesting going for them down the road, because for Tampa, because kind of where do they go from here, right? They do have to re-sign a lot of players,
and then you got to hope that Stamkos comes back and he stays healthy.
Stamkos was skating today. He
started skating sometime last week, but my thing is every last year for the last 2 or 3 years he's been hurt.
And this is why I'm a little happy now that Toronto didn't sign him.
But who knows? Maybe if he went to Toronto, maybe half his issues wouldn't have happened.
Oh, can you imagine if he was on LTIR right now? They brought someone else in. They got Matthews and Stamkos and whoever else they could bring in. That'd be insane. But Valtteri Filppula was with Detroit.
You know what? I do remember that. It goes back, what, a few years, right?
He won a cup with them, too. Yeah, because he left them in... 11, I think he must 12. Have gotten, 12, 13.
Then he went over and played a year in Finland, it looks like. That's the lockout, right?
Yeah, that would have been lockout. No, 12, 13, I think he got traded to Tampa. Because he was having a pretty bad season, it looks like.
Yeah, but look at this next year. He went from 41 games and 17 points to 75 games and 58 points next year.
And he's kind of been on a decline since then, but he's a pretty steady performer.
His assists are pretty normal, like across the board.
Yeah.
His goals are
goals.
Yeah,
which is interesting for a guy that usually played with Stamkos.
Yeah, but to be honest, Stamkos is the better pure goal scorer out of those two. So
that's what I mean. You think he'd have more assists? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but a lot of times Stamkos was kind of. I got
the
puck. I'm going coast to coast. No one else is touching this.
He's a little bit like Ovechkin.
That's why look at Filppula's 2015 plus minus. He's 2014-15 minus 14.
His plus minus has come up, so that's not too bad.
And -6 or -6 the next year, so it's probably because of the fact that he's on the ice when they score, but then Stamkos is on the ice when they score.
Yeah, who knows? But you know what? It's a good pickup for Philly. They're going to really love him there.
Yeah, and Philly's crowd is nothing but passionate.
Yeah,
so
he's gone to at least a good hockey city.
Maybe they'll pair him with what's his name, Voracek.
I think Voracek tends to exclusively play with Giroux, but maybe Wayne Simmons.
I can see Wayne Simmons
plays with
Giroux's kind of a bum this year.
Yeah, he is. He's having an off year. Which is why, but even though when you texted me like that there was a rumor that Montreal was going to go after him, my first thought was, of course Montreal's going for a French player. But I don't see him getting moved. Yeah, his cap hit is too high because he makes $8.5 million. Yeah, but that's what his cap hit is. Whether or not that's his salary, who knows? But it's like Philly's not going to sell low on him. That would just be stupid. At all.
They would demand first round picks.
Yeah.
And they would probably they'd demand a lot for him.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I found interesting was I believe it was on Twitter today that was it Bob McKenzie that tweeted that apparently Philadelphia offered Edmonton Oilers 4 first round picks for the next 4 years and Claude Giroux for Connor McDavid, which Edmonton walked away from.
I could see that. Well, obviously you would. You would have to basically mortgage the next 10 first-round picks.
Yeah.
But I can't see them having made that offer. That's such a stupid
From
thing
what the
to
tweet
offer.
said was that Edmonton balked at the offer. Well, I mean, right now...
I'm sure they didn't even get an answer. They probably... Chiarelli was probably like, click.
No. Because McDavid is a proven star in the league. You could have 4 or 5 first-round picks, and they're not going to guaranteed to work out, right?
Look at Edmonton. Yeah. All their first overalls.
I still think my favorite tweet was, it wasn't from an analyst or anything today, but it was the one about Giroux getting traded to Toronto for so-and-so and then a Samsung washer and dryer combo?
Yeah, that was funny. Oh, man. Just... trade deadline always brings up the craziest rumors, and you've always got to kind of watch where the
you got to look at the sources. From. Like that, you got to know if they're trusted, if they're not trusted,
and especially with Facebook now, right? And all this clickbait shit. They just throw out the stupidest stuff because they know some idiot's going to click on the link.
Well, it's all about views, right?
It is.
That's why we do this podcast.
Yeah, I know. That is true. But anyways, moving on from Tampa Bay. The last kind of real seller that actually really surprised me this year, and I know we kind of mentioned them earlier, Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, they informed people before the deadline that pretty much everyone was for sale.
We're giving up!
Except for, like, Mantha or They're young, basically their young core.
Any of their young guys, I think, Mantha, Mrazek, Athanasiou.
Yeah, Athanasiou and
well, obviously Dylan Larkin.
Well, that's just a given. But yeah,
no one's touching Dylan Larkin.
I don't know about Nyquist. I don't know if they said he was available. I know he's hurt. He's been hurt.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Detroit's got one of those teams that is always full with like Swedish players and European players. But this year they're hurt so bad the entire season that they pretty much had to sell if they're going to want to do anything in the next few years because they lost Datsyuk.
Yeah, and Datsyuk walked away. So and they still had his contract, which I thought was kind of
it's not there anymore. It's in Arizona.
Well, now it is. They had to get rid of it.
Yeah,
I think Detroit came out really well on that. If I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
But
Arizona now has Datsyuk and Pronger's contract. They should hold a dual jersey retirement ceremony.
They'll end up playing for them in an outdoor heritage game,
like Brodeur for St. Louis.
Yeah. Well, Gretzky for St. Louis.
Yeah. Well, Brodeur played like 5 games.
Yep. Something like that. He at least works for that organization.
Right.
Gretzky played maybe 20 games for them and still came back and then wanted a free hot dog.
But Gretzky was also very upset by the way he played in the Edmonton game, outdoor game.
Yeah.
That he wanted a second chance. Yeah.
Oh man, but Detroit, today they were selling a bit. Obviously, they managed to get rid of a couple of guys that I think they just really wanted off the books. One was Thomas Vanek.
Yep,
because he's been half decent for them, but they managed to get a good return in third round pick and Dylan McElrath.
He's a prospect. He's a younger guy. Now Vanek, I can see him playing well in Florida.
Yeah,
but
I think he's a little slow.
Duffy was going on about how it seems that Florida always trades for old players. They got Luongo a few years ago, and
see, Luongo still has gas in the
tank. Yeah, he does. He's old.
He is old. Obviously, they've got the oldest man in the league in Jaromir Jagr.
The Century Club almost.
Now they've
not in points, in age.
Yeah. Now they've got Thomas Vanek, and they got Sean Thornton there too.
But he's been there forever. He's kind of more of just like a locker room guy than anything.
He doesn't play.
He's kind of go out there and fight that guy.
If he even dresses.
Yeah. I think he's been a healthy scratch and getting into a few games.
Yeah. Goes out, punches a guy.
I believe he's from the London or the St. Thomas area. I believe.
Was he related to Joe?
I don't know. I don't know if they're cousins or not, but I know Sean Thornton, Joe Thornton. I don't know if he's from this area or not.
Let's look it up.
Let's look it up.
But they also got rid of Steve Ott to the Montreal Canadiens for a 6th round pick next year.
Yes. I mean, the one thing that kind of upset me with Montreal is Drew Stafford went for a 6th or a 7th round pick or whatever he went for. How could Montreal not get Drew Stafford for the same, they could have offered a 6th round pick for him instead of...
Here's the thing, if you really want to look at how badly, Detroit fleeced Florida, P.A. Parento went for a 6th round pick to Nashville.
Yeah.
How can you tell me that Thomas Vanek is any better than P.A. Parento?
I love P.A. Parento when he played for Colorado.
He's had a bit of a cold streak ever since. He had a really hot start to the season and then total cold streak. But he scored 20 goals with the Leafs last year, and the Leafs were bad. So, 6th round pick for a guy like that, you can't tell me that he's not worth more than a 6th rounder.
You know who I really miss, who for Colorado was, what was his name? Was it Thomas Mueller? Not Thomas. What was his name?
Thomas
Mueller. He played for Colorado he played for him for a year. Was really good, but he developed blood clots from the altitude, so he couldn't stay in Colorado because of... But he played really, really well for him, and he was a great player.
Yeah.
And then the blood clots kind of were from the altitude, so he got altitude sickness.
Speaking of health issues like that, very happy to see Brian Bickle back.
Yes.
That's been fantastic.
He played a game, I believe, in the AHL a night or two ago.
Well, he was back in playing for Carolina last week.
I thought they sent him down for a conditioning kind of.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I knew he played for the Hurricanes. I didn't know if they sent him back down or not. Sean Thornton is from Oshawa.
Oshawa, so not too
I don't
far.
think he's really related to anyone. Doesn't say, at least. I'm just looking at Wikipedia. But anyways, get back to Detroit. Yeah, they managed to get rid of Steve Ott, and then yesterday they got rid of Brendan Smith as well, and they got a second and a third for him. It's not a bad haul.
No,
and Brendan Smith, they could still try to sign come the summer because he's UFA.
He's a UFA.
Which I wouldn't rule out.
No,
I wouldn't
not at
rule
all.
out them signing him back.
I mean, especially now that they've kind of loaded up on some picks. Mind you, they're not top end picks, but they're going to be able to get at least one or two decent players, hopefully, out of these picks.
You would hope, because they've got one of the better scouting systems.
Yeah,
for sure.
And they tend to scout more everywhere than opposed to a lot of teams like to just scout Canada or North America.
Like me when I play NHL 17.
Yeah.
I pretty well exclusively scout the OHL, WHL, and QMJHL.
Yeah. But no, they've produced some of the best European NHL players in probably league history, to be honest.
They have. They've definitely... well, they also took advantage of getting Russian players in when no one really trusted Russians.
Right. Well, yeah, it goes back to the
helped.
days of, 90s. Sergei Fedorov and was it Valery Kaminsky, and back in the...
Yeah.
They had all these guys...
The Russian Five.
Yeah, when they would come back all the time, and since then it's always been like a European door open for Detroit.
And, I wonder if that's maybe changing. I wonder if they're starting to get more North American players coming through. Which isn't a bad thing, but it's also not a bad thing if they've got a lot of Europeans. Unless you're Don Cherry.
That was the least problem for the longest time, is that they would never draft Ontario or Canadian or North American born players. They were always going after European players, and Don Cherry even said that. If you want to start to win, start drafting Ontario boys.
There is a certain amount of truth to that, because a lot of really high end players do come from Ontario.
Well,
the Toronto area,
even
especially.
even a lot of European players come out of Ontario now because of the fact that the OHL and the CHL is one of the, if not the best junior hockey league in all of the world.
For sure. Well, and one thing that, just touching on that point quickly, that I do like that the Leafs are doing now is that they've got guys like Connor Brown, who's from Toronto.
Yeah.
His family's been there for generations. Like, watching the Winter Classic thing that they did, the special thing, the HBO kind of thing that they did. His mother was like in tears talking about it. Like, even his grandparents would have been so proud. They were big Leafs fans, and he's
look at Marner.
Yeah,
Marner's from Richmond Hill.
Toronto as well. I think Hyman is from Toronto as well. They had Frankie Corrado, and obviously we'll get to him in a second.
His Stanley Cup story.
Oh my god! You just know he wins that fucking cup. There's gonna be a damn movie made about it.
Oh yeah, I want to know who's gonna play Corrado. I said it to you today. I said, who's gonna get the rights to Corrado's Stanley Cup winning?
Corrado will play himself.
Hey, at least you get playing time.
Oh man. Oh god.
At least he gets a chance to prove himself, though.
That is true. That is true. And we'll touch on that in a second. But just getting back to Detroit here, they got rid of some guys. They brought in some picks, so they're kind of doing. I don't know that they're going into full blown rebuild, but they're retooling, and they've needed to for years.
They're putting the foundations in for a possible rebuild. They're getting enough picks that if they do decide to go into a rebuild mode, the start is there.
Well, and they've got some good young players already as well. They've got a bit of a foundation, but the players that they had brought through that they kind of wanted to become like a Datsuk and Zetterberg sort of thing just haven't worked out.
They haven't panned out
Yeah.
anywhere near those two.
No, and I don't think they've had that leadership capability either. So I think that's maybe some of the void that they have right now is just a lack of leadership in the room.
Well, if they want, I hear he's a free agent. I think he scored 7 goals in a game the other day. They could sign Putin.
Russian sniper up in the rafters shooting every defenseman as he goes by.
There's a Russian sniper on the ice when you got Putin out
there. Also true. Oh man, but it was just very kind of surprising, I guess, to me to see Detroit kind of go into this retool and just selling mode at the deadline, because to me that's just never been them. You know, as far as I can remember,
the playoffs 25 years in a row.
Exactly, they've always made the playoffs. They've always been kind of perennial contenders until the last few years, when it really seemed like Mike Babcock was just dragging them over that line just to get them into the playoffs. But then they were having first round exit after first round exit. And Jeff Blashill's just not that coach. Like
Well,
he's a decent coach,
but he's no Babcock.
No, he's no Babcock. He's no Babs. That's for sure. So, and you're kind of seeing the effect of that. The effect of kind of less than superior coaching coming to play.
And shitload of injuries too.
Yes, they have had a ton of injuries. So you know what? Maybe this is just a retooling year, and
to be honest,
the playoffs.
It might not be a bad thing considering when going to the playoffs 25 or 26 years, however long it is, you're not expected to really do too much because you consistently have making the playoffs. So you kind of are settling.
But you're also not getting those real high end picks.
Exactly. So now they're basically they were skating right in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Now basically with all these injuries, new coaching that's not so well, they missed the playoffs. Maybe it's more of a reality check. Like maybe we need to start doing something else to compete at the tops again, right? Because the Western Conference was always a stronger conference than the East, and Detroit dominated the West.
Yeah.
Now they're in the East, and they're one of the weak teams.
Well, I don't know in some of the later years that they so much dominated. It's just kind of snuck in. But
right.
They were always there.
Yeah, they were always there, and now the Eastern Conference, mind you, they're the stronger conference this year. But
no, the Metropolitan is the stronger conference.
Well, the Atlantic is starting to get pretty competitive.
Yeah, now it is. For most of the season, it's been pretty...
well, that's because Montreal had that hot start and everyone else didn't.
Yeah, well, not only that, but like you got teams like Tampa and Florida. Tampa especially, but Florida's coming back on because they had horrendous injuries to Barkov and Huberdeau, who I thought both
back now.
Yeah, I thought both of them were locked down for the season.
Yeah,
I was like, what the hell? When I saw them come back, I was like, damn.
Well, being a Leafs fan sucks. Being a hockey fan, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's true. It is good to see both of them back. Yeah. No, it is great to see both those players back. But anyways, we're going to move on quickly to the buyers, a couple of the buyers that we had today. Now, the big one, obviously, Montreal. What the hell?
They didn't really go after anyone really big named. Like, mind you, they traded Desharnais and got Davidson. So they needed
that's a good pickup for them.
And so was Jordy Ben. Jordy Ben was a good pickup for them.
I wouldn't quite go so far as to say good pickup. He's a decent
I would
pickup.
say that he was a better defenseman than Patterson was, who they swapped.
Fair enough.
So he's a little bit of an upgrade than what they had.
Yeah. But he wasn't what they needed, which was a puck-moving defenseman, which they got with Davidson.
Right. Now, the only other thing is other than that, they were basically trading for some guys who were towards the end of their careers, like Ott.
Yeah, Steve Ott. They basically got guys, like massive guys for their fourth line because they evidently feel like they're going to be pushed around.
Right. And they got from Colorado, they got Andreas Martinson, who's like 6'3" or 6'4", 220 pounds. In like 100 and something games in the NHL, he has 7 goals.
But can these guys really play though? That's
Martinson can play. He's a good bruiser, but he's not a scorer. He's more of a get out there and get some energy for your team.
I just don't know how much Ott has left in the tank.
The best tweet I think I saw today was that Montreal was loading up at the trade deadline for a first-round exit.
Well, I think I sent you a tweet that I had seen where someone went, Montreal loading up all their fourth line with skilled guys? Nah.
To be honest, though, like, they do have some decent guys in the minors that they could have brought up. Like, why do you need to trade away some of your assets for a guy like Steve Ott, where you could bring up a McCarron, or you could bring up some of these younger guys, give them a chance. McCarron hasn't played these like that bad when he's been called up.
Yeah,
why gamble some of your picks in the future when you have some guys waiting? You know what I mean?
Well, they didn't really gamble any major picks.
No,
to be fair, they gambled a 4th, conditional, and a 6th. So it's not terrible. And they got Dwight King, who's not a bad player.
He's not a bad player. Now, he was underutilized in LA because, LA's
pretty
LA.
Yeah, he's still at max, a 3rd line player.
Oh, for sure.
But you know what? They've added a ton of grit, but I'm wondering, I don't know that that's so much what they needed.
No, I still feel like they needed more center scoring.
Well, and Duchesne.
Yeah, and there was talks for weeks that Montreal was looking at targeting Duchesne.
But they'd have to give up Sergachev.
I'm wondering if it's something that maybe
they want to do.
I'm thinking maybe something at the draft.
Yeah, you know what? The expansion draft and the entry draft are going to be very interesting to see what happens with Colorado. But because Montreal's got to make a move. They need more depth down the middle.
Yeah, and Desharnais wasn't doing it ever. He hasn't been the same guy for like 2 years.
Well, neither is Plekanec.
Right.
He's had an awful season. Galchenyuk is going through growing pains, and Therrien wasn't letting him do that.
And not to mention, he's also been hurt here and there too, right?
Which doesn't help.
But yeah, no, it was...
well, I guess they've got Andrew Shaw.
Yeah.
Well, I always forget that he's a center. I always feel like he's a winger.
Yeah, he's. I always just feel like he's just a pest.
He pisses me off.
Especially after scoring that game-winning goal against
I was annoyed
Freddie.
about that. No, it's just he's a pest. It's the kind of player he is. And when he plays against you, you hate it.
He's like a Sean Avery without all the antics. Like, he's just under
He's
your
a
skin.
more skilled Sean Avery.
Oh, for sure. But, like, he's kind of always under your skin. He's always, he's
it's
there.
kind of like Brendan Gallagher.
Yeah.
In
But
that way.
Gallagher's more of a... I guess Gallagher, he's pretty skilled, too, for his size and
He
whatnot.
is. He is actually quite skilled.
But, no, I mean, they need to get Galchenyuk kind of going. He's been...
Well, he needs to take... Galchenyuk... They need Galchenyuk to take that next step. We know Galchenyuk can score. He got 30 goals last year. That's not nothing. That's a good amount of scoring in today's league. But he needs to take that next step to being an NHL center.
Right.
Being that number one center that they need him to be. And he just has not made that step yet.
Yeah, and it's...
But even if they had Duchesne, I don't know that Duchesne is that player either.
I mean, Duchesne can be a number one center. Duchesne's the number one faceoff win percentage in the league.
And which I was very surprised at. I was surprised that he was that high.
He's winning like 64% of his faceoffs.
But if you have a 1-2 of Galchenyuk and Duchesne, you don't really have much two-way play there.
No, but
in my opinion, that's a lot of straight offense without a ton in their own end.
I would say that Duchesne is a better defender or back checker than...
Well, he's just very fast. I think
yes.
that helps him make up for some of his
But he
mistakes.
does get the stick in the right spots when he needs to on defense. He's not actually that bad of a defender when you watch it. And I mean, there's a reason why he was selected to the Olympics. There's a reason why he was also selected to the World Cup of Hockey too, right?
Yeah.
He is a valued...
Oh,
valued player.
and I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just not certain that he's exactly what Montreal needs.
Maybe not, but he could definitely be, maybe not on Montreal just with their style, but he could definitely be a first-line center and a lot of the different teams in the NHL right now. It's just who wants
Arizona.
It's just who wants to pony up, right?
Yeah, well, no one was ponying up mid-season. Not like that.
I could see
that's an end of the season trade.
And I feel like that's what
off-season.
Sakic is looking for, because at this point it doesn't matter, because whether you do it before the trade or you do it now, the draft is still going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So that it's not like they need to get rid of Duchesne now and then be like, oh, now we're going to make the playoffs.
Well, and part of the benefit of waiting for the off-season as well is that you don't have to worry about the cap so much. You don't have to worry about the cap till October. That's like future them problem.
Yeah.
That's a future GM problem. That's not such a big deal in the off season, but it's just seeing the moves that they were making were very odd until you kind of think, okay, this is Claude Julien, who is the coach now, and you look at his Boston teams, they had a ton of grit like
he
that,
likes
right?
The gritty, big kind of bruisers for one of his lines, and then he has his finesse lines.
And at the same time, if you're going into the playoffs, it's almost like they want to play a Western style of hockey where they're going to grind you down.
Which will fit in with Shea Weber style.
Which does fit in with Shea Weber style, but I'm not sure that that's going to win you the East.
The East is more of a fast, skilled kind of north-south game.
Pittsburgh would just roll right through them. So would Washington.
They would,
for that
They
matter.
would use their speed, and it would be, they would basically have to come out hitting as hard as possible and try and take out anyone that they could.
And I don't know that they could consistently do that against three lines.
Depending on how
3 or 4 lines.
Depending on how everything works out, I can see Montreal coming out of the first round, but maybe not the second.
Definitely not the third. Yeah, but second is still a maybe. But you know what? It'll be interesting to kind of see what happens with them. And I do want to quickly move on to the Toronto Maple Leafs, actually, as a bit of a buyer today. And yes, and the last couple of days, because obviously they picked up Brian Boyle, which was a really great pickup. But they also picked up Eric Fehr.
Yeah. I was surprised because I thought Eric Fehr was put on waivers.
He was.
But did he clear the 24 hours? Or?
No, he did clear. but the Leafs didn't have a lot of contract space. They were at 49 contracts, which is why they couldn't pick him up off waivers. But they traded Frankie Corrado. Frankie's free!
Yeah, he was in the doghouse for...
Well, and this is the thing. Frankie would get his chance to play a couple of games, and he wouldn't play well.
But, I mean, what do you expect when all that pressure is put on you? Because you get sat for 15 to 20 games, then it's like, okay, here's your chance, don't blow it. But that's all you're thinking about.
But you look at a guy like Josh Levo, same situation for the Leafs. He was injured. Seriously, they said he was injured. There was no way this dude was injured. And he's been fantastic. They've actually sent like another guy down from their 12 forwards to keep him in, even though he's been out half the season.
Right.
So there are guys that can do that. And Babcock wants those guys that can sit for half the season, have that mental fortitude to be able to just come right into the lineup halfway through the season and play the best that he can.
Yeah.
And Frankie just could not do that. As much as I really liked Frankie Corrado, I liked what he brought. I thought he was a really good pickup for the Leafs at the time. He just didn't fit in with them.
And I feel like he's going to fit in great with Pittsburgh.
Yes, puck-moving defensemen who can skate. That is what they need.
And
so I think,
especially with Ole Mata being hurt right now.
Well, just look what they did with Justin Schultz.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest reclamation project ever, because he was so terrible coming out of Edmonton. He had no confidence whatsoever, and yet he was still able to step in pretty well for Chris Letang when he was injured this season and run that power play.
And run it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Hopefully they can get a similar sort of thing out of Corrado. Obviously, he's down in the minors right now, but I would not put it past them to bring him up once, obviously deadline's done now, so they can do it.
Yeah, and usually kind of when stuff like this happens, deadline, when a guy gets moved like that, it usually, when they get a new team, they usually boost their confidence or does something. They usually come out and play well.
Yeah, they're happy to get moved.
Yeah, they're happy. I mean, I wouldn't like, as much as Toronto's a good team, they're, they might make the playoffs, they're going in the right direction. You're going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Oh, I know. There is no comparison.
They're the Stanley Cup winning champions.
Very likely
they're historically known going back to back to the Stanley Cup finals throughout history. And you've got guys like Crosby, Malkin, Kessel, Letang on your team. So that's a good team to even just go and get some games experience. Know these guys, get some...
I hope he gets some game time with them late on in the season, maybe even play in the playoffs a little bit. If they do win the Cup, I'll be happy to see him lift it, but man, that's a bit of a track record that the Leafs are getting with Pittsburgh if that happens.
I'm just sad that Kessel didn't come back and eat mac and cheese out of the cup in front of the players.
Well, he took out a big one-page ad in Toronto when that happened.
And then he took it to the sick kids hospital, which
was
really nice
classy of him. Yeah, that was a classy move. But a couple more quick things. Toronto, good pickup for Eric Fehr. That adds some definite leadership in the room. Good bottom six forward as well. So in case injuries, what have you.
I wonder if they'll pair him with Boyle.
Well, you know what? Even if he doesn't play up in the NHL, he's still going to be good for the minors.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So that's a good pickup for them, especially the dressing room. Secondly, very nice to see that Toronto's buying again.
Yeah.
Because it's been years.
Well, the last few years they've just been trying to shed all these contracts or pick up Nathan Horton's contract.
No, that was a brilliant move. To get rid of David Clarkson like that.
Dumb contract.
Oh man, they've made some really good moves the past couple of years, and I think this is another decent move by them.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I was reading that Nathan Horton is trying to make a comeback.
Not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen.
I think honestly at this point, I think he's a little old for it, and
his back
is just done.
Yeah.
But poor guy. You really kind of feel for him, but at the same time, he signed a massive contract.
Oh, he's set.
Yeah, he's pretty well set for life, provided that another Jack Johnson situation doesn't happen.
Where his parents steal his money and then he has to file bankruptcy.
Poor guy. He's got one more contract left, so hopefully he can hit it out of the park with Columbus. I think either this year or next year.
I think it's next year.
But anyways, on to our last kind of section of teams that were both buyers and kind of sellers at the same time.
They kind of upgraded and didn't upgrade at the same time.
Yeah. So the first one I want to talk about is LA, because they obviously spot, I should say, on Bishop, and they brought in Iginla.
Yeah, Iginla.
So good locker room presence, might add a couple of goals on the power play. Not a ton of speed, but you know what? LA can probably work with that. He can add a bit of edge and a bit of grit to them. But they also sold Dwight King, which I didn't really understand in the sense that Iginla is like a more expensive Dwight King, except
pretty much
older and slower.
Older and slower, yeah.
So that was kind of an odd one for me. But again, Iginla's done at the end of the year, right? His
contract's up. And he does have the playoff experience.
And Colorado's keeping back 50% of his contract,
right,
which kind of helps. So that was kind of interesting to see that they were kind of a little bit of both in the sense, and just kind of seeing them. And you know what? That's the mark of a team that is in the middle.
Right.
They don't really know where they're going. They're not for sure trying to break the bank on going to the playoffs.
Which is what surprised me, because Iginla said that if he wanted to get traded, he wanted to get traded to a contender. And he went to a team that's out of the playoffs right now.
But they're a team that if they get in, they can probably
they could run the table.
Yeah, they could. I don't foresee that. They don't have the depth on defense.
Especially not to go up against teams like Pittsburgh or Washington.
You know what? It was once they lost the wife beater Slava Voinov.
Yeah.
Or whatever the hell he calls himself.
Yeah, now he's like Slavoslav or something like that. He goes by a different name.
Whatever.
I mean, maybe we just called him the American version, was just Slava. We can't pronounce it.
But once he left, I don't know if they've ever really replaced someone of his caliber.
Jake Muzzin's been a huge boost for them.
Don't get me wrong. Jake Muzzin is fantastic, but imagine if they still had Voinov.
Oh, for sure.
Like, that just completely changes their...
Like when Russia tried to have Voinov come in at the World Cup of Hockey, and then the NHL was like, no.
Maybe the IOC will let you get away with this crap.
But this is an NHL tournament.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. But, you know, it's just kind of interesting to see them kind of walk that fine line. Now, Ottawa, by comparison, has been far more a buyer than a seller this year.
Yeah, I forgot they got... didn't they get Tori Wingles, too?
Yeah, they got him
a little
last
while
month.
ago, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a half-decent pickup, but honestly, I think he's injured. Like most of their top nine. But then they picked up Victor Stalberg as well, and... I feel like they picked up someone else. And I'm
going back to their injuries. They got a lot of guys coming back soon, and they were talking. They're going to have like 9 or 10 forwards come back in the next like month or so.
Ooh, yeah, and you know what? They are going to be pretty deep.
Yeah.
Once that happens. Oh, and they picked up Burroughs. That's who I was.
Right. Yeah. The finger biter.
That dude bothers me.
It was fun to watch him in the playoffs, just to kind of get under everyone's skin, but. Some of it, when he talks, I just want to punch him in the face. It's not the French accent. Don't get me wrong.
No, he's a bit of a dirty player. But then Ottawa sold on the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, with Curtis Lazar. And
how weird.
Yeah. Although in like 33 games this year, Lazar has 0 goals.
And 1 assist. But last year, he was one of their best rookies. So I failed to see how the drop-off was so bad that they felt they had to trade him. Unless there's something going on behind the scenes where he's just not happy in Ottawa, which, believe me, I understand. I'm wondering how could you be happy there?
New coaching change, too. I'm wondering if whole Guy Boucher, maybe he didn't fit in his style.
Which, again, I can't see because he's a good two-way player who he's... Maybe he tops out at a second-line center, but... at the very least, a high third line.
Yeah, maybe he couldn't figure out the defensive or the offensive side of it in Guy Boucher's defensive system. Really, maybe that's why he's.
Yeah, and you know what? That's entirely possible. You know, if he's just not fitting in, he's not fitting in, and they traded him and Michael Koska, which, to be honest, he's just a throw-in to get him off the books for Jyrki Jokipaka and a second-round pick. So. They got a decent return on him. I don't even know how well Jokipaka's doing.
Guy Boucher is one of those guys I don't think you'd want to get yelled at by.
No, that dude is
He's
terrifying.
Scary, and then he's got that facial scar that just makes him look like a villain from a Bond movie.
He kind of does. You can just see him going, I don't expect you to talk, I expect you to die.
Yeah. It's going to be in Casino Royale 2.
Oh, man. That was pretty funny. Let's see. Yeah, Yokopaka hasn't done that well either.
No,
this season with
or
1
last
goal, 5
season,
assists.
or the year before.
But that's still better than Curtis Lazar.
Yeah, Lazar was 33 games, 0 goals, 1 assist. He's 38 games, 1 goal, 5 assists. So he's got 5 more points than.
You know what? He was a 7th round player, and he's 25. So I'm assuming they're not really expecting to get much out of him at this point. He will probably just end up in the AHL. So really, it was Yokopaka for Koska, and then the second rounder for Curtis Lazar.
Pretty much.
It's about how that breaks down. That's not a bad haul.
Not at all.
For Curtis Lazar, but at the same time, I feel like in Calgary, where they've got a lot of youth, I think he's going to be utilized perfectly there. Like, and him coming up, Sean Monahan there as well, and Sam Bennett. You imagine a top 3 of Monahan, Bennett, and Curtis Lazar.
Oh, and then you got Goudreau too, right?
Well, I'd say more just down the middle. But you got Johnny Goudreau there as well. Matthew Tkachuk.
He's a little chubby now.
Yeah, he is a little chubby. That happens to some players as they get older. Just look at Jeff O'Neill.
Well, hey, that's because they were ordering him Harvey's Burgers all day on the trade deadline today.
Well, and I remember him saying that he would have played longer if he'd actually paid attention to his diet and training and whatnot, but obviously didn't, and it's worked out well for him because he's great on TSN. But
James Duthie said today, he said, it's deadline day. He said, we can't guarantee there'll be trades, but we will guarantee that there's Harvey's Burgers on the way for O'Neill.
I wish I'd had the time to listen to more of that today, because that looked truly fantastic.
It was good.
I was so happy that they had the guys from Letterkenny on.
When they had Wayne on there, that was awesome.
I'll have to watch the clip of that, because I didn't have a chance to today. But I think Calgary picking him up for that like second rounders don't often have a chance of really making it. Like, sometimes you hit a home run like Duncan Keith or PK Subban.
But you're literally listing guys who are like 1 in the hundreds, if not, you know what I mean?
I really, once you're outside the first round, even outside like the first 10
20,
or 15,
15
there's
20 picks.
Not as good a chance of them making the show. But
or making a huge impact in the show.
Yeah, well, exactly. And you know what? I think Curtis Lazar is going to. So I think that's a fantastic pickup for Calgary. I really hope that Lazar can turn it around. And you know what? As I said, I think he slots in well at their number 3 spot. Yeah. And you know what? If he can kind of give him that extra bit of a push to get into
Calgary's
the playoffs.
More offensive-minded coach.
Yeah, more offensively minded, but I think they've just got a better setup for youth.
Yeah.
There. And to be honest, Ottawa is a little depressing. That's a depressing team. just because they're cash strapped, right? They're never going to be that successful unless they have a ton of really young, high end skilled guys, and they don't.
Well, they do have a decent amount in they got Shabbat in the
he's going to be monster on their back end coming through
with Carlson. Could you imagine?
Yeah. Well, the key for them though is going to be being able to keep Carlson past next season, because that's when his very, very cap friendly deal is up. He's only at like $5 million,
5 or 5.5,
maybe 6. He's going for 9 or 10 next season,
and he's worth it.
Exactly, and no way he makes less than that. Like, he's going to get PK Subban money.
Yeah, and he's got to. He's only been injured like once, and it was that Achilles.
Yeah, that was
Matt Cook.
Dirty. Oh, fucking Matt Cook. Oh my God, but. Yeah, Ottawa, I think, is buying and really trying to really do well now so that they can convince Carlson to stay.
Yeah, they're kind of like Vancouver a few years ago, where they're kind of at their peak, where it's kind of like, we got to win now, kind of.
But they're nowhere near as talented.
No,
that's the problem.
Not at all.
They're nowhere near as deep and as talented as Vancouver was, and it was disappointing that they didn't get it. And sometimes that happens. They also made horrible, like just absolutely horrendous deadline deals.
Yes.
That was always where they lost the plot, was at the trade deadline. So you see some teams this year, not a lot have really doubled down.
Right.
And doubled down badly. So as quiet as a trade kind of deadline from the past few days up until today has been, I think it's going to benefit a lot of teams, and I think we're in for an exciting run up to the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely. But that's our show for, the middle of this week. I think we'll be back this weekend for our normal show. Follow us on Twitter at TalkingPuckP, And subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud as well. And thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you later on this week.
See you later.
Goodbye.